segment of the show. The topic is the capital punishment issue in the state of Tennessee, and we have with us to talk about the capital punishment Attorney Larry Woods. And of course, Attorney Woods, you've given us excellent information about the death penalty, not only nationally, but in the state of Tennessee. And let's allow you to continue that conversation over the last 5.5 or 6 minutes that we have here.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. And as I was saying to you a moment ago off camera, you know, it's difficult to pack everything in this excellent show. I'm more used to teaching my classes at Tennessee State University where I get an hour, so I am condensing some of this and leaving some things out. But it's an important subject, important for everyone. A lot of our tax money in Tennessee goes into this to pay the prosecutors and the courts, and oftentimes the appointed lawyers or public defenders who defend it. And these 100+ cases that we have on death row in Tennessee require an immense amount of time, money, effort, because we want to make sure that we do it right. There's a large probability, even though I'm a defense lawyer and I've been opposed to this in my professional practice, there's a distinct possibility that Tennessee will probably have executions in the near future. Some of these cases that are 15 and 20 years old on death row are working through their final stages of appeal. As I said a moment ago, several of the Memphis cases have been reversed. One out of Chattanooga, the Cozolino case, was reversed. Those people, some of them are off death row or starting over. But there are also a couple of cases where the federal judges have upheld the imposition of the death penalty. And when those appeals are finished, unless a higher court does something, there will be execution. Both cases are out of West Tennessee, one out of Memphis, one out of Weakley County. One case involved the murder of a young child. The other case involved the murder of a police officer. And in each of those cases, the Federal Court of Appeals, situated in Cincinnati, that governs all cases out of Tennessee, has held that the death penalty in each of those cases, has upheld the death penalty in each of those cases. One case has asked for rehearing before that Federal Court of Appeals. Those kind of rehearings are rarely granted, but we don't know whether it will be in this important a case or not. The other case involving a defendant named Robert Allen Coe, the Federal Court of Appeals has declined to rehear it, and that case will result in an execution.
So the court has already given a decision in terms of his rehearing.
That's right. My understanding is that he and his lawyers will now seek a writ of certiorari, an appeal, from the United States Supreme Court. So there'll be another 6-8 months here while we wait to see if the Supreme Court of the United States is going to hear the appeal in that case. If they do not hear it, then the Federal Court of Appeals ruling is final. And the only options left for that defendant would be clemency from Governor Sundquist, or some important new evidence that a court would pay attention to. Both aspects probably unlikely from what I understand about the cases, although you can never predict what a governor is going to do. We had a long tradition in the state of Governor Frank Clement through many terms of office, granting clemency for everyone on death row. But barring those kind of circumstances, Tennessee probably can either look forward to or be repelled by the prospect that we're going to have death penalty executions in the state probably starting next year. And once that gate opens, then there are numerous other cases behind it over the next year or two where the appeals are being exhausted.
And so with 100 men on death row now, there has to be a large number that's behind those two that would face that. And so it's, as a matter of fact, that is generally the trend when states start. That's why we find Florida is that why we find
Florida and Virginia and Texas, as I'm sure you've paid attention, have greatly accelerated their pace of executions over the last 10 or 12 years. They now execute, between those 3 states, they probably execute around 60 people a year. And Tennessee's not going to approach that level. Fortunately, our crime problem's not that nearly that bad in Tennessee. And frankly, probably half the cases on death row in Tennessee will be reversed. The national average is 2/3 of the cases will be reversed. In the last couple of years, it's been 1/3. So my guess would be 40–50% of the cases in Tennessee will be reversed and not result in the death penalty.
Well, what do you think over the last minute and 30 seconds that we have here? Dr. Woods. What do you think about a moratorium on the death penalty again? Do you think that there's a possibility that could happen?
I would urge that there be one. There are too many cases where too many doubts have been raised, too many cases where appropriate, proper lawyers were not appointed. But politically, I don't believe that's going to happen.
Okay.
30 years ago when we had a moratorium, the majority of the public opposed the death penalty. Nowadays, it's certainly consistent that 60–70% favor the death penalty.
Is that the information?
Somewhere in that range with the Gallup poll. So with those kind of numbers, the politicians, I don't believe, are going to permit a moratorium.
What would, from a legal point of view, I mean, how was that accomplished the first time?
Primarily through lawsuits brought by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, working through Thurgood Marshall and his lawyers that worked with him.
So it's something the Supreme Court has to do?
Yes, in effect, yes.
Okay, very good. And Dr. Woods, over the last half minute that we have here, let me thank you for coming by and giving us that excellent information about capital punishment in Tennessee, and at least preparing us to have some kind of idea in terms of what it takes and the whole process of carrying a man from whatever murder he might commit to the death penalty. We certainly want to thank you for that. And we want to encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.